gym about 4 o'clock, and it was comfortable. Not great, but
humidity was going down. That helps a lot.
Okay, we are live.
Okay.
Thank you for it.
All right, just a little bit late, but I'm going to call this meeting of the Riley County Commission to order. Please, everybody, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this next couple of gorgeous mornings and probably won't stick around, so it's just a little bit of a tease of what's fixing to hopefully come. Yeah, so it was pleasant this morning, so I like that. So sorry for a little bit of a late start this morning with the Zoom and the live stream, but we'll get going with some public comments, and I know Julie's on Zoom, so we'll start there this morning.
All right, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So these numbers are from last week. I'm sure they've changed as of this morning. I'll chat with Renee later this morning to find out. But as of last week on Thursday, we were monitoring 148 active cases. We had identified 146 new cases since the week prior. We also, unfortunately, had to report 4 new deaths last week, 3 of which had been fully vaccinated and were residents at Via Christi Village. So that brings us to 49 deaths in the county. Our 14-day average percent positive is 8.83%. We have identified so far 70 variants of concern. 56 are the Delta variant. We've had 56 breakthrough cases so far, and more than half of them have turned out to be Delta variant. In those cases where individuals are fully vaccinated but test positive with Delta, we continue to find that they have very mild symptoms, so that's good. Looking at our vaccination rates, according to KDHE, about half of those Riley County residents who are eligible have at least received their first dose, and 45% of those who are eligible are fully vaccinated. Testing opportunities, we have lots of testing ops in the community. You can call our screening line still between the hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, if you are symptomatic, and you can get tested at the health department. We're also testing 3 days a week at the airport. So far, we've tested a little over 30 people and have given away 4 additional test kits to those who wish to take them home and not get tested right there at the airport. We're offering mass testing again through collaboration with KDHE on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 4 at the mall. So that will start this week. We've had quite a few remote clinics, and we'll have more coming up. We had a successful clinic last week on Friday. We had, I think we vaccinated about 20 people at the high school at Central Enrollment. That was just the COVID vaccine. And then I need to check with our clinic, but we saw a lot of people come through our doors for other vaccinations, for their childhood school age vaccinations and testing opportunities at the health department. So we had our food truck set up outside, and it was it was a hot day for that, but we had a successful turnout for that. We have a lot more coming up. This weekend we'll be at Everybody Counts with COVID vaccinations. I will be there from 9 to 11 at the Douglas Center, and we'll have a lot more coming up through the month of August. I think that's about all I have. Any questions?
Yeah, Julie, vaccination rates, you said 45% are fully vaccinated and over 50 with 1 dose. And does that include the other clinics, that you're following, the Dillons and Hy-Vee and Target, all those? Does that number include everyone in the county that's been vaccinated?
Yeah, we believe that number includes most of those clinics, since that is taken from WebIZ. If those entities report to WebIZ, that number is a little more accurate than what we have on our website. What we have on our website, we're just tracking individuals who come through our clinics or those who we've allocated to. So that number is a little more accurate. However, that number is still probably lower than actual, since there are still some clinics that don't report to WebIZ.
What is contract tracing telling us at the moment, Julie?
Not anything new, I guess. Yeah, from what we saw last fall, we saw the smaller gatherings, and that's kind of what we're seeing now. People getting together just in groups or household contacts, some travel. but no real big events that we can trace these back to. I think when we saw our spike these last few weeks, that was probably from the 4th of July weekend.
I
Oh, go ahead.
had a question too. When you say 50%, roughly, is that our summer population or our school population? There's quite a bit of difference in the summer. I don't know whether that'll change or.
For the vaccination rates?
Yeah.
So that's all of those individuals who are eligible 12 and up in our county that have had at least one dose
Yeah.
so far.
Is that counting the population of K-State students that aren't here this summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone who's considered a Riley County resident. So, yeah, K-State numbers are quite a bit higher. I think they reported about 80% of their staff and students who had been vaccinated. Now that wouldn't include those incoming students, just from what they've done this last go around.
So your target, herd immunity is like over 70, is that correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
70, 80%?
I think it's closer to 80. She's talking about herd immunity. What is the percentage we're trying to get to, Julie?
Between 70 and 80. My goal for just vaccination has always been 70%. Still trying to get there slowly.
Well, we've got a long way to go, and do you have a target date that we're going to get there?
I don't. We're just trying to get them, we're trying to meet them where they're at right now with our remote clinics. That's really what we're trying to do in the month of August. We saw definitely a plateau of those individuals who were calling in. We weren't getting them to come to us. So that's why we decided to go to them. And so far it's been successful. Take for instance, our clinic down at Redbud. We had, I believe, about 40 vaccinations that we did just at Redbud for those couple of hours. So to me, that's successful. That's 40 more than what we would have had if we wouldn't have done that clinic. So.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Appreciate the update, Julie. Sorry about Thursday.
No, it's my fault. I should have paid attention.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody else up on Zoom, so we'll move to chamber. Anybody here have any public comments this morning?
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Okay. All right. Well, then I'll go ahead and close off the public comment section for this morning, and we'll move on to commission comments and start with Commissioner McKinley.
Last week has been here. Last Monday evening, I had attended the 4-H livestock auction. Haven't done that before. It's interesting. It's impressive the amount of money that the local citizens give to support. That's above the value of the animals, just to support the kids, that the 4-H kids. And really, it's a good deal, I think.
Thanks for the reminder. I need to drop off the check to the extension department this morning.
Oops. Hang on a second. There we go. And then Tuesday night, I attended the Riley City Council meeting, updated them our budgeting and road and bridge sales tax that will be on the November ballot. We're partway through a project to line all the old sewer lines in town to limit the infiltration in the sewer system, which has become a major problem, and it's progressing well. And they're also starting design work on a sidewalk and storm drainage project that was recently funded by the state. And then Thursday and Friday, I attended the Flint Hills Regional Leaders Retreat by the Chamber of Commerce. Heard a number of good presentations, had small group discussions. It started off with 2 excellent talks by General Sim and Perry Wiggins about Fort Riley. Other topics had the startup strategies, State Department of Commerce, tracking employees to the area and future strategies for the area. They also had a legislative panel from some of the local office stakeholders. And overall, I thought it was a good conference. I learned a lot and met a number of new people in the area. So it's good. Finally, and most importantly, I want to extend a recognition to our special lady. As of about 2:30 this afternoon, my wife will have been putting up with me for 46 years.
Oh, my goodness. Great, congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can send her sympathy.
I will. We'll do. We'll certainly do. Okay, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Okay, then Commissioner Foki.
Yeah, last week was busy. I was kind of strange. It's been a week since we've been here, but Tuesday I had hopefully my last dental appointment of the year. That's been quite a process. Then I also worked on the community haircut. We're going to be having it, Everybody Counts on August 9th, and coordinated with the hair salon that's going to be doing it. And some other issues at church we were dealing with. Had a bell practice Wednesday night. Thursday, Friday, I also attended the Manhattan conference at the event center. There were a lot of people there, and it was really a good time to network with different people that I hadn't seen for a long time. So I really did like the presentation by Major General Sims. He talked about the military. There's 45% of our GDP in the Flint Hills is from the military. And also 62% of our GDP is from Fort Riley and KSU. So that was really an interesting percentage to think about. I really enjoyed the way he talked about how he coordinated the military's families' whole life. It was a holistic approach with his base. So that I thought was really interesting. Panels, they had a panel on entrepreneurship and legislative. I heard a lot of the entrepreneurship being on the task force. I heard a lot of that, but it was good for everybody to listen to what they were talking about. The Commerce Secretary spoke on Friday, talking about putting 2.6, was it? Bill Murphy. The state putting in $2.6 billion in capital investment coming up, which I thought was an amazing number. And they've also, he reported that the state has had more revenue than they expected this year. So they're looking really good. I really enjoyed the roundtable discussion on Friday afternoon, where different tables got together and talked about all the did a synopsis of the 2 days and talked about individual ideas. So that was really an interesting discussion. Then Saturday, I went to the Iris sale over at the KSU Gardens. I was just amazed the amount of people there. I've never been, so it was just a line of people to pay, and a lot of irises. I'm going to figure out where to plant them though, but then also, let's see, what else did I do? Saturday, also voted, came downtown and voted, and then went to Kansas City with a friend of mine. He was looking for some furniture we couldn't find here. So the furniture industry is really, I didn't realize they were so hard hit. It's like 20 weeks to order something. It's just amazing.
I ordered new furniture last May and didn't get it till mid-September.
Yeah, it's even
That
worse
was
now.
last year.
You know, you're in January, February before you can order something. They won't even sell things off the floor, so it's kind of crazy, but we did find something. So anyway, that was it. Sunday was a normal day, going to church, cutting the grass, going to lunch. So that's it for me.
Okay, well, busy week for me too. I'm gonna try to speed things up here since we've got quite a bit of business to do. Have my bi-weekly community leaders Zoom call on Monday. Same group of people, Lafine, the city, Via Christi, members of Riley County, so on and so forth. Just talking about the COVID front here locally. Wednesday evening, I attended the pre-leadership retreat dinner out at the Liquid Arts Winery. It's the first time I've been out there. Pretty cool. It's kind of not my thing regularly, but pretty cool. the view and stuff out there is extravagant. So they did a really good job setting that up. Nice to have the opportunity to connect with some people and some local leaders and individuals there. Nico's Little Italy catered the event. Really good. Really good. So yeah, it was just kind of a nice casual way to kind of ease into things on Thursday and Friday. So I, like the other two commissioners, attended the regional leadership retreat. Overall, thought it went very well. The list of speakers who spoke and the topics they spoke on was interesting and relevant, given everything that we were at all the way through, from Mr. Flanders to Mr. Sims and Perry Wiggins and so on and so forth. Liked the discussion on those prevalent topics, particularly after those speeches and all the updates that were given along the way. Enjoyed the legislative panel on Friday morning as well. Glad that they got some people from just the region, not just the Manhattan and Riley County area, because it's just all incorporated, regionally. And I'm glad that they chose to do this in Manhattan. Hope they'll continue to consider that option moving forward. Just for me and my schedule, just kind of works out a little bit better that way. And it was nice to catch up with several individuals who I never actually had the chance to meet, but I've been working with for a year and a half. So actually being able to connect personally was pretty cool. And hopefully we can continue to do that when moving on as well. So Thursday afternoon, after the first day of the retreat, I was able to watch via webcam or something that's on NACO, the national teleconference call they had earlier in the day on the discussion of the Senate infrastructure bill that's still being considered by Congress and federal policymakers at this point. Don't know officially what's going to happen, but I guess it is what it is. The discussion centered around how this legislation would directly impact counties and local units of government if indeed it is passed. Friday afternoon, I was going to try to zoom in on the KAC Legislative Policy Committee meeting, but simply ran out of time after the leadership retreat in order to do that. So hope that went well. I think Clancy was on there. Hopefully KAC will consider all those policies Riley County is wanting to consider. And I'm sure Clancy, when he gets back, will give us an update on that as well. So, and lastly, just over the weekend, over the last week or so, I've been receiving a lot of emails and calls on this 30 for 30 plan that's being discussed by the administration. Got a lot of very unhappy and concerned Kansas landowners, and that list apparently seems to be growing. So at some point in time, going to have to talk about something with that. I don't know what. I know. They really are. And there's really nothing in place at this time, but those calls out about it continue. So I just thought that was worth noting. And that's all I've got this morning. So we can go ahead and move over to some business this morning.
First item I have is amending resolution for Fairmont Heights. Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three, please.
It's okay.
I'm in and out over here.
I'm running short on time. Yeah.
See you.
Next, I need a motion for letter in support of Collins and Prairie Community Health Center Service Area Competition Grant Application.
I'd move to approve the letter to support Kansas grant application.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded on the approval of the Concert Prairie Health Center grant application. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three, please.
There's 3 in there.
Hopefully it lasts a little longer.
Yeah.
Next, I need a motion on portable communication device.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded on approval of portable communication device. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, please.
Well, signatures today.
Yeah. I haven't been here for a week.
Next, Raleigh County Personnel Action Forms, Lauren Hyde, new hire, COVID-19 tracer, Health Department, Darren Hobbs, a transfer for promotion of planning compliance specialist, planning and development. Christy Franks, contract tracer, Health Department, separation of service, Janet Freely, a new hire, medical clerk, Health Department, Garrett Redden, seasonal labor, public works, separation of service. Diane Arellano, new hire, COVID-19 tracer. Samantha Tyra, office assistant 2, attorney's office, separation of service. Julie Miller, public health nurse, Health Department, separation of service. Melanie Highsmith, new hire, as needs museum assistant. And lots of signatures for all.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Also have accounts payable and payroll from last week that was approved.
Okay.
Signed, so no
So-
motion is necessary, but more signatures. Only 3.
Three more. Yeah, sure.
It's back like this. It's worse.
Yeah, I think my signature gets worse. The bigger the file.
That's why I'm never gonna write a book. I'm never gonna have to do autographs.
Ah,
That's what.
that would be
So,
hard.
well, if I wrote a book, nobody would buy it because it wouldn't be worth reading, but let's not start there.
The life of the Times of Commissioner Ford.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see a New York bestsellers future in that. Okay, right over there. If you want to go ahead and get started, Craig, I can sign while we're
Thank you, Elizabeth.
finishing up.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll just pick up from a comment that Commissioner Ford mentioned. There was a KAC, let's say, policy committee meeting last Friday afternoon. We had 6 proposed legislative items, and then we had 2 additional ones commented on that weren't the paperwork wasn't presented yet. But we had the most, if that's a factor to take into consideration, we had 4 on our own. 3 of them are well, I mean, 3 of them have been before the legislative policy committee before, and KAC has supported. That was constitutional home rule, the dark store, and help me out, Rich, on the initials or the acronym of the LV.
Oh, LAVTR,
Yeah,
Local
LAVTR.
Ad Valorem Tax Reduction
Right.
Fund.
And then a new one we had was an abatement legislation that we could go in on code violations, and the county could take action and take care of that violation and then assess the cost on the tax roll to the property owner. That's something counties can't do. Sedgwick County got special legislation to do that last year, and so that was something new presented by Raleigh County. All 4 items were well supported. The meeting last Friday was just to hear presentations of all the proposed legislation. We'll have a meeting in about 2 weeks in which we'll actually have the board will discuss each proposed legislation and take a vote on whether or not to have the KAC support that in the next legislative session. In regards to our 4 items, I would anticipate the KAC would support all those items going into the next legislative session. Have any questions about that? Okay. There were some other ones. There was an item from Atchison County that I don't think is going to get the KAC support. It's really a tax sale dispute between the county of Atchison and the city of Atchison. And it was a consensus of the board that it was a local issue that could be resolved locally, and there was no need for statewide legislation. And then Saline County proposed a funding matter for community corrections. It wasn't, that individual didn't show up to make a presentation, so I'm not real clear what they're asking for. I really think they're asking for legislation to have the Department of Corrections fund community corrections more adequately. That's what I got from reading their printed material. But KEC will look at those next, in a couple of weeks, and have a hard discussion about what I know we're going to have in our legislative action plan for next year. But I'm confident that all 4 of our items will be there. The other thing I'll just, I know we're all signed up. The KEC is working hard for the KEC conference in October, the 18th and 19th. If you look at the county comment, it was brought to our attention Friday that there was 2 hotels that were listed you could stay at. Of course, the conference is going to be at the Sheraton in Overland Park. And I don't know, there's a close neighboring hotel, and all those have been completely booked for the conference. We think that's encouraging sign for what the attendance will be in October. We know they have the same numbers. Anyway, those are the numbers as of right now. I just want to report a couple things I've been working on. We've been working hard on the Keats sewer system. With the underlying problem is if those lots are too small, that when the system fails, they can't put a new system in. And since we've been working on that, we've had 2 failures. One a couple of years ago that we could resolve at least temporarily. The people had bought a house burned down next to them. The lateral field was still good. Theirs failed. It was contrary to our regs to have a lateral field on another lot from what they're on. We allowed them to do that, knowing that that would get them to the system once we get the Keats District's system up and running. So that was the solution for that one. We've just now had another system failure, and we're working with those individuals as best as we can. There's a way to put a little bit of lateral line in, and then they can kind of limp on until we get the new system. But we've had our second failure there, which just proves the need to get that system up and going, because it just more and more that's going to happen in the city of Keats. But we'll work on those property owners, and we'll get that solved. Perry's really being quite innovative with this one to help them out. And just a reminder, I'm gonna catch Alvin later. John's here. We do have our White Canyon Public Works at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. So
I remember.
I hope the front doors are unlocked for us when we get there. So that's just a friendly reminder. And then my last item is that we're getting the final paperwork into USDA on the Lakeside Heights water and sewer extension. That's a small expansion of about 6 to 7 property owners, but we'll finally get the final documents in so we can get the financing locked down on that. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions or anything else. Okay, thank you.
For the minutes,
John, we'll have to sing Rivers Friday.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm gonna wanna go or not at this point in time.
you're not allergic to more feathers.
Of course, that's not. That's over, that's over at Overland Park, right?
Overland Park.
So it's over in Johnson County, so
Yeah.
it's not Kansas City Metro.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if that goes forward.
I will tell you that you get a group of county people together and mention dark store, and you get people animated pretty quickly. So.
Did everybody have the minutes up? Okay, we'll go ahead and start off with page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. And lastly, page 8.
Move to approve the minutes of the July 26th meeting.
Second.
It's been moved to second and approval of the minutes from the July 26, 2021 BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The tentative agendas, commissioners.
So I actually missed.
Any items for next week's press conference? Guys think of any, just email me or call Cindy, get them on there. Next you have Bob Isaac at 9:20. Yeah, about it.
My brother went up to the Beach Boys concert Saturday night.
Oh, I think I heard something about that. Is that?
Alcove Springs.
Yeah.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, so what do you think?
He enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He said luckily the rains that came through didn't, because that's what he'd come by our house for a while Saturday before they went up there. And we were looking at the weather, but any of the rain stuff stayed away because you just park in the pasture and walk through the pasture into this place and there's just taking lawn chairs sitting on the hill. He said it's neat setting. There's a bunch of hills sloping down to it and there's big bluff behind it. Stage, so it's fun. In the parking lot, we had guys on horses directing traffic in parking. Then they had a hay wagon taking the parking lot down to the concert.
Kind of not really fitting for Beach Boys.
Yeah, not exactly what Beach Boys said. And there were some others he did. There were two other open ones that
Did he say what the age of the crowd was?
every age.
Every
He
age?
said a lot of it was boomers, of course, but he said there were younger people with, and some with little kids.
Yeah, I've gone to some of those concerts and sometimes you're greatly pleased and sometimes you're greatly disappointed.
It's like maybe you guys should be done type of thing. I went to one over 4th of July in Hayes. That was Firehouse, and that was a 80s kind of rock band type of thing. I thought, it's a mixed bag. But they actually put on a pretty good show. So.
And then he was surprised because the Beach Boys had another act listed after. Somebody else supposed would have bounced. Everybody's getting up to leave, and they had two guys up there, must have been local guys, just playing guitars, kind of singing, playing some old rock, just while everybody was trying to get out. He said it was a mass. Said he was watching because there were a line of people to get on the track or the wagon to go out, and they weren't moving. So he said it was like, I don't know, a little over a quarter mile. They just had to just walk out.
I think that's the, what's the right word, not initial, but like the opening concert for that facility, because I think.
Well, somebody said they used to do that several years ago.
Yeah, years ago, but I say.
Then it closed down. I mean, it's somewhat of a park, I guess. Sometimes it's a neat park, there's trails and spring and everything. It's pretty nice, but they tried stuff years ago and then quit it. But now they're trying again.
They're actually trying, and we had two guys behind that coming up, talked to our Optimus group a couple of weeks ago. The concept is to try to use it as an economic driver for that area. Yeah. Yeah, concerts out there.
And he said, but you pull off the highway It's 5 miles of gravel road to get back to it. He said, you know, it's glad it hadn't been raining for the site. He said, that road with all those cars coming through with the dust was just rolling. Yeah. But he said by the time they got out of there, got done.
Did it get a little rain during the concert or none at all?
Yeah, it all stayed south of there.
I got a quarter of an inch at my place Saturday.
Yeah, we got some Saturday while he was at our house. But that's why he got pulled up the weather, was looking at it to see what was going on. Then it stayed south of there. And he said by the time, like I said, they waited around, listened to these other people play for a while. Try to get, and then we got the car that was,
How long was the concert?
I don't know what it was, I think scheduled for like an hour and a half or something. I think they had the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
But
what
they said by the time they got to the peak, by the time they got home, it was 1:30. It was slow getting out of the venue back to the parking lot, and then you slow getting out of the parking lot.
That's really just like if you do that symphony in the plains or whatever.
Yeah.
Our kids got us tickets, probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was up by, it was down by Harrington, and it just, you know, everybody comes at different times, so getting in's not too bad, even though parking starts getting kind of big. But then when it's over, it's just really one mass of people trying to leave at the same time.
Yeah.
And you just gotta be patient getting out.
So,
Well, good. I'm glad they had good attendance there.
yeah, it isn't what their expected was, but it looked like pretty hammy about this crowd. So.
It's interesting, it was all ages. I would have expected a predominantly older.
Yeah, and it was mostly.
Yeah, but some of those songs kind of transcend
The
to
Beach Boys
movies
been
and
going for.
Oh, sure they did. Sure they did.
for advertisements,
If
commercials.
the kids would just listen to them. Back in that day, my folks hated everything I listened to, but that's every parent's job is to dislike their children's music.
Most of what my kids listen to, I didn't care for.
I was fine until it got into rap, and then I
Well, that's
couldn't quite handle that.
Rap and some of the heavy metal stuff.
I mean, Yeah, I'm sorry. I just never acquired a taste for rap. I just don't. And then the heavy metal, I just never.
You
never
boomers.
acquired.
You boomers.
I know some people. What did you say, John?
I said, you boomers.
I'll give you both now.
This rave music is really interesting.
Try actually going to one.
Yeah.
That's even more interesting.
Those days are over. There was a video about at the Olympics, the horse that was dancing to rave. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I got a kick out of that.
I had watched that a couple times.
If you're watching it, try to make sense of the music. Good luck. But if you're watching it for pure enjoyment, that was one thing.
It's interesting. Vince, you see they had the mixed swimming event, the 400 meter
I missed that
medley.
one.
It was
Yeah.
2 men and 2 women. Like, it was because the order of the strokes had to be all the same, but there wasn't a requirement of which one's the men, which one's the women's.
So when where we got our tail kicked.
Yeah, well, one person, ours was way slower than everybody else. The others, it was interesting. Some of them put both their men first, some put both their men, and some mixed them back and forth. Just so as the race went on, some were way ahead, and then they switched, and this one would be ahead.
We did horrible on that thing.
Is that a first? Have they done it before?
No. it was-
Yeah, I didn't see that, but I've never seen a mixed.
Yeah.
I thought I heard they did it in a track relay too, I think.
They did.
Oh, did they?
That's interesting.
It's just real disappointed with men's basketball.
Did he get eliminated?
Yeah, I don't know. They just haven't been playing well. Real
Chemistry's
soccer got it.
Chemistry's not real good on that team for some reason.
The women's soccer was disappointing.
They lost in semifinals.
How did women's softball turn out? They played for the gold medal by
And
now.
that surprised me too. Like, they've been putting an effort up front for that, but it's really never gotten much anywhere. So
Morning, Bob.
How's it go?
okay, Bob, you're up.
At some point, I'm gonna be able to match the show with the orientation of the screen. It's back and forth. It's a little small and dark. Morning, folks. Mike Morton, representing Blue Stem Electric Cooperative Incorporated, has made an application with Riley County Planning and Development for a special use authorization to permit construction and operation of a 750 kilowatt commercial solar energy conversion system. The subject site is generally located approximately 575 feet south of Barton Road and 681 feet west of Calvary Road, essentially in the middle of a field. Probably be. According to the applicant, Blue Stem plans to install a 750 kilowatt solar farm in Riley County for the benefit of the Blue Stem members. The site will consist of approximately 7.7 acres, currently owned by Mr. and Mrs. Bryce Larson. Currently, Blue Stem has a 1 megawatt diesel peaking generator located at the Leonardville substation, which sits on the northwest corner of Highway 24 and Highway 82 junction. Blue Stem plans to move this generator to a different substation once the solar farm is online and generated. All power produced by the solar farm will be distributed directly to the members of Blue Stem, served by the Leonardville and Clay Center substation. The applicant asserted that none of the power generated by the solar farm will be leaving the area served by the substations. The majority of the solar power generated will be consumed by the Blue Stem members who reside in Riley County. The subject site is currently zoned County Zoning District AG Agricultural District, shown here in gray. As is all the surrounding property. There are no variances, conditional uses, or other special uses associated with the site. Riley County Fire District number 1 will serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Leonardville Fire Station, which is Station 6, located at 108 West Barton Road in Leonardville. What's that?
So you got the notes switched.
Yeah, I figured that. So. And that pointed out to me in the planning board as well. Like, oh, get mad. The subject site is located within 5 miles of the fire station. Yeah, that's a touch. You asked about that. This is the site plan illustrating the orientation and location of the described area's boundaries in relation to the proposed use. The site will be accessed from Barton Road on the north side, via an existing entrance. The solar energy conversion system will consist of several single-axis sun-tracking solar panels that follow the sun from the course over the course of the day, moving from east to west. The use of specific standards of the subsection 6 of Section 8 Agricultural District of the Raleigh County zoning regulations in regard to commercial solar energy conversion systems state that the system shall not produce glare or reflection upon any property, nor shall system produce glare or reflection that causes a hazard to traffic on any public street. It is not anticipated that the equipment or panels will create glare. The panels themselves are designed to absorb light, not reflect it. Furthermore, the ground surrounding the units will consist of grass, not gravel, with the intent of the system blending in with the surrounding natural environment. Few conditions that were created for this outside of the zoning regulations. These were proposed and approved by the planning board. That all drives and parking areas shall consist of and continue to be maintained with all weather surfacing, such as crushed stone or gravel, so they can access the site without tearing up the ground. No portion of the site shall be used for the storage of equipment, vehicles, materials, or supplies except during construction. So it doesn't turn into a parking lot or some other storage facility out there. Prior to commencing operations, a decommissioning site reclamation plan along with an instrument of financial surety in the amount of a range between $50,000 and $250,000 shall be submitted to and approved to by the Raleigh County Board of Zoning Appeals. So this project actually has a lifespan. So it's not 2 or 3 years, it's more like 30 or so. So, but they do have one in place in case they decide to, when it gets to the end of the lifespan or end of the lease or whatever, to decommission it. So on Monday, excuse me, July 12th, the Raleigh County Planning Board unanimously forwarded a recommendation of approval, the request to the Board of County Commissioners, as it was determined that it is in general conformance with comprehensive plan and meets the requirements of the Raleigh County zoning regulations. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve the request for the special use authorization to allow for the construction and operation of a 750 kilowatt commercial solar energy system conversion system, as it has been determined that it is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan and meets the requirements of the Raleigh County zoning regulations. That's all I have. It's fairly straightforward. The one concern was as meeting these the requirements of the subsection section of the zoning agricultural district zoning regulations, I should say. And I assume the applicant has gone to a great extent to do that. Where it's located will be off of several hundred feet off of any public road. And we'll be blending in with the surrounding environment, which is pasture. So it's quite well done, in my opinion. So that's what I have. If you have any questions for me.
Yeah, do the property owners, do they get a lease from the Blue Stem?
Yes, it's a lease arrangement. Sure.
Okay, and are there any other of these in the county?
In the county? No, this is the first one in this county.
That's exciting.
They're doing 2 projects at the same time, and I believe the one in Pot County is a full megawatt.
And
this is
the
the-
750 kilowatts, how many people does that service?
Good question. Mr. Morton called me after the planning board. He said, well, at the planning board, he said, oh, anywhere in the neighborhood about 700 homes. But he recalculated. He said, I may have been a little hasty on that. It's going to be anywhere between 300 and 400 houses. Again, depending on the time of year and all this other stuff. So, yeah.
On the the bond for the reclamation saying 50 to 250, that's kind of that's a wide shot. Why?
I think they just want say that they're willing to go up to this amount. And so whatever that is determined to be.
When they get the final plan, they'll decide what.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what,
that's what
okay.
adjustment is. And they'll submit that letter of credit. And so what that is for is this does get to the end of its life cycle. If something happens and they choose to abandon it,
Yeah.
the county can go in there and cash that letter of credit and go out and clean it up.
That's it, yeah. You said there's no glare or something after any of those things that I didn't know if
And you know,
the Ford has such a lot of restrictions.
Oh, yeah,
Close to
absolutely.
them. That doesn't affect any of them. Okay.
No, I'm not sure where they really ever got that. Maybe it was because on the panel, there was a nice chrome strip around each. And that little bit created a little bit of glare. I think that research and in the industry will show that it's more of a, I don't know, rumor or it's just misinformation, you know, I think
Yeah.
it's just something to scare, but that's not really the case.
Okay. So, and because, like I say, they're doing two in this area, the one in Pot County is being held up. Is that a problem with it, or what's the problem over there? You know,
I have no idea. I didn't know it was being held up.
they said something about the zoning. There was something in the paper about the zoning was being, they were having to
It's
do
under the
something.
1 megawatt, so it's not being held up. Just over 1 megawatt is,
Oh,
so that it's going over in Pot County too.
oh, okay. I wasn't clear. Yeah, I remember reading something
Yeah.
that they had questions on something, but I didn't know if it was like.
No, we're under the commercial level
Oh,
since we're not commercial.
And the reason why we use the special use rather than the conditional use is because it is a public utility. Even if it's for a finite membership, that kind of thing, more than just one person in the backyard kind of.
right.
It shows a chain link fence around it. How high is that chain link fence?
Anywhere between 6 and 8 feet. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's to keep you in, I believe.
Out. And animals, that type of thing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Curtis gonna get it.
except for rats and mice and stuff like that. So,
Keep the cattle from wandering through.
Yes, yes.
yeah, okay.
And that's it.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Need a motion.
I move to approve the resolution approving the request for special use authorization for the solar energy system. As specified here.
Okay, I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to use special use authorization to allow the construction and operation of the 750 kilowatt commercial solar energy conversion system. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three, please. Thanks, Bob. Thank you guys.
Thank you,
for coming in.
gentlemen.
Thanks a lot.
Greg, how you doing?
Good, how's it going?
Good, good.
Don't have a lot of stuff today. I was just gonna give a quick update on Pillsbury Crossing. We're still working on some alternative parking there, but it has made progress in the last couple of months. It's been kind of slow, but we are still working on that. I anticipate having an update here the next month or so with a final proposal for some parking down there. Director Butler had a meeting about a few weeks ago in the Ashland area at the community center. Just talking to him, I thought was pretty productive and was able to visit with the folks down there. We're trying to do some extra enforcement down there based on their feedback. So Sergeant Woods helped coordinate that. It's been a good thing. A few weeks ago, we participated in the 4th of July celebration in Randolph. Had good turnout. We were able to set up the barbecue team trailer and several specialty team vehicles. By all accounts, appeared to be a big event, successful event, as people are coming back out and such. And in a few weeks, we're planning the Leonardville Hullabaloo. I messed that up, but it's coming. And we're trying to have a similar response as well out there with some vehicles in that. So that's pretty much all I have.
Any questions? Okay.
All right, appreciate
Thanks,
it.
sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I don't think John's here yet, so I'll go ahead and let Alvin go ahead.
Whereas operations manager, just public notice for structure replacement we'll be doing out on Silver Creek Road. It is just north of 52nd Street. And we plan on starting on that next Monday. And we should be done by Thursday afternoon on that one. So we'll have to go back up.
Okay, good deal.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay. You want to go ahead, Rich?
Good morning, Commissioners. Remind everyone of the upcoming primary election tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. All polling places will be open. Advanced voting closes today at noon by state law. I would encourage people to go out to the Riley County website, rileycountyks.gov. You can find your polling place, also pull up a sample ballot. Of course, the only race on the ballot is the USD 383 primary. I'd like to remind people of that. And so far, we've had 1,000, as of Saturday, 1,776 people participate in advanced voting. It's been a very good turnout for a smaller primary election. Of course, those numbers, I'm sure, have exceeded 1,800 by now since we have advanced voting going on as we speak. So I encourage people to go out to the website, look for information. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call our office at 785-537-6300 if you have any questions. Any questions from the board or anyone?
And advanced voting is only open until noon today, right?
State law has to close at noon. That's correct. Any other questions?
How many, did you say had already voted?
One, as of Saturday, end of Saturday, 1,776. And I'm sure we're well over 1,800 by now. So I'm sure we'll have a busy morning with advanced voting.
How many ballots did you send out officially?
We mailed out 703. We've received back 292 as of Saturday.
Okay. It's 2,000 already. Wow.
Yep, good turnout.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, could we respectfully ask to reschedule Don's recognition? We're not sure if he's okay. Once we find out where he's at, reschedule.
Yeah, reschedule. Just let us know. No problem. Thank you.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has issues.
I'm sure he is. That's just the HR person. The first thing we go to is making sure everybody's safe. Don't get that in your mind. Yeah.
We just need to reschedule.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Just making sure everybody's where they should be.
Okay, that works.
I just leave it at whatever custodians put it at.
Well, women are a little bit more sensitive. Especially older women. Thinner skin, so.
I'm gonna bring you sausage and potatoes every day. We're gonna build you up a little bit so you can handle this a little bit. Oh, well, the press conference is going until 9:50, so, I mean, if he's on his way, we can probably make it work.
Let's do it,
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
It's 10 minutes out. We'll just be a few minutes late. It's only Elizabeth's time. We're not worried about it.
Well, hopefully you'll just give me as easy as you did Craig's this morning, and I'll just say, I was really excited about this, and you say, me too.
I'm excited.
I have questions.
Oh, yeah,
I have
personnel man, I got lots of questions. All right.
He's like, I gotta look and see what it even is first. You and everybody else, lots of questions.
No.
I have no thoughts on the Big 12.
Nothing.
Really?
I guess is if I had to be a betting man, we'll keep the current 8 and try to expand somehow, but it won't be the power conference as far as I'm concerned. That seems to be the best play at the moment.
Miss Oklahoma is good or something, no, that's for sure.
It's Texas either.
Texas.
It's really the Big 12's fault. That's what I've come to the conclusion of. We really should have expanded when we had the chance
Oh, yeah.
5 years ago, whenever it was. Chose not to, and this is part of that. So,
Yeah, you gotta stay competitive.
mhm.
I don't know why we didn't expand.
We had probably a shot at getting a handful of pretty good TV markets. Cincinnati, possibly Houston, Louisville was talked about. Florida State wanted out of the ACC.
Yeah, that was a big one right
That's a good
there.
one, yeah.
Uh,
I don't know, I lived in the SEC for a while and, I mean, they'll take over it, they'll take it all.
oh yeah, they will.
They are serious.
ESPN initiating it's really disturbing.
Yeah,
I said they're dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was interesting.
A whole bunch of people, including myself, canceled their ESPN Plus accounts. And it's a garbage deal to begin with, really.
Yeah.
And then in the midst of that, they wanted to go from $4.99 to $6.99 a month. I'm like, no, sorry.
Get it all.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
It's just greed. It's, I don't know.
It's just money.
Texas is already the biggest athletic department, most dollars of athletic department of anybody in the country.
Got the biggest overall athletic endowment.
Then I know
But
that's
you
one in
know,
the country, but
they
it's not
still don't
that.
want to pay the $76 million to get out, really, though, did they?
You know,
And out west, that's all. There was one in Oklahoma was 8.
Eight?
Was 8. Yeah.
surprising.
And I was surprised. With the list, that's all I had. A&M was second. I didn't know they were big. I always thought it was Texas and Ohio State. But
Ohio
this
State's
one's
third
Ohio
or
State.
fourth, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Ohio State has to be the top.
Yeah. Must be nice. And there's a little K-State over here just struggling along.
No, they don't do that.
Struggling along like 90 million.
Some Texas A&M sports blog or something took a look at one of the overviews of the stadium here and was like, oh, I thought that was Allen High School here in Texas.
Oh, good heavens.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
That's a friend.
Doesn't matter, still look at the records since Texas has been in the Big
Yeah.
12 and see what the records are.
Yeah.
Keep reading them, yeah.
Last time we remember playing Texas A&M, wasn't it a bowl game? Weren't they supposed to beat us? And what happened?
Remember all those years that K-State had all the shirts?
Yeah.
Texas state champions, and we beat every Texas team we played.
That's great.
The one year I about had a heart attack on all of them, but yeah, we won. It didn't make it easy, that's for sure, but yeah.
If you think about Missouri and Nebraska jumping, it hasn't fared very well for them either. I actually heard the wild story that, if Big 12 can maintain itself, maybe Missouri and Nebraska come back. I understand you shaking your head, but some of the guys that came in were talking.
Yeah, I mean, all the talk's out there, everybody's talking.
Oh, yeah, it's just,
Might as well talk about it.
it's just crazy.
I wouldn't see for them, it's money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be better to stay in the Big Ten. It's gonna be better to stay in the SEC than to stay in it's gonna just.
Well, I thought that's what it's all about, is money.
That's what anything's about. Like, I'd personally be more.
We had Coach Kleinman come and talk to us last week.
Yeah.
And someone asked him, what purpose would a 20-team conference serve? He said, oh, one purpose, money.
Money.
He says, it's all about money.
It's money.
Oh, yeah, it's all about money.
That's all.
Yeah.
I don't like some of the rules that they've come up with, like, the transferring in the middle of the season, those kinds of things. I don't think that's right at all.
The other one we're watching too is, speaking of money, is this being able to pay players now for their likeness and stuff. You've got high schoolers now coming in, already signing contracts before they've even set foot on a campus.
One going to Alabama,
Yeah.
almost $1 million his first year.
Yeah, he might get injured the first play. You
Yeah.
never know.
Or he may come into training camp and not even make a depth chart.
Yeah.
Well, and that's my question is, so now are those young people that have their plates already full going to be able to focus on the task at hand, mean school and playing, or is it going to be their business? And then how successful will they be?
And I think that's the bigger point. I mean, even if they get injured, even if they turn out to be the most amazing athlete ever, focus has not changed. And your purpose and just your attitude has changed.
It's
Money changes
a
everything.
proven fact that young people's brains aren't fully mature until about the age of 23. They
Yeah,
really even say
very
people shouldn't be
true.
driving until about then because
Because you're not there.
you're just not fully developed. But
Coach Kleinman said that has really aggravated a lot of the transfer.
Yeah.
He says all these young kids are coming in and they aren't focusing on what's best for the team, it's what's best for
Right.
me.
Right.
And sometimes you can break through that, sometimes you can't,
Right. Well, I know it's a different sport, but Coach Wooden used to put the best player on the bench if he wasn't the best team player, and he was the winningest coach ever. So, I mean, you can't just be all for yourself when you're playing a sport like that.
Well, I suppose there'll be a lot of big lawsuits over all this.
There's lots that's just so true.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it's other point to struggle with that. Don't like something you sue.
Yeah.
What strange times we live in.
We can blame it on COVID, right?
It was well in advance of that, but it certainly doesn't help.
Everything gets blamed on
Yeah.
COVID these days.
Coach Kleinman has some interesting COVID stories to tell.
Oh, yeah.
In one game, they were playing wide receivers on the offensive line because they had lost.
I think that was the first game of the year, wasn't it?
Well, I thought he was making some reference to the Baylor game too. They had real,
Oh, yeah.
they had real. They had to put in people just wherever they could stick them in just to have a team on the field.
That's why we didn't go to a bowl game last year. Even at 4-6, there would have been an opportunity.
yeah, everyone should get a mulligan for last year. There were a lot of teams in the same situation.
Yeah.
Even Nebraska barely took the field last year. We've had
Well, some might say that that's been the case for several years. You walked right into that one, sorry.
It wasn't even me.
Particularly with John sitting right here. With John sitting right.
Walked right into that one.
Feel the love. Ouch.
That was a little harsh.
Yeah, let's see. Oklahoma or Texas. As far as fans go, they're great.
COVID high five, Mr. Ford.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about your daughter, are the military academies independents?
Yeah,
But they have their own league. Well, they don't have their own league. They have a whole league on that section that's called what is it? American Patriot League? It's a Patriot.
Oh, yeah, American Athletic Conference.
Okay.
But Air Force is in the WAC.
Yeah,
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
They're in the
that
WAC. That's true.
Army.
There's some private schools in the Patriot.
I mean, isn't Notre Dame in the Big Ten?
No, they're independent. They're totally.
No, I thought they were
No, they
independent.
joined the ACC last year to.
Oh, it was that's what I was
for
thinking.
football, but
Yeah, in football,
they're
they're
an independent football with the ACC on it,
Right.
all other sports.
yeah.
and that has to do with money.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So West Point Navy.
They have their own TV contract with NBC. I mean, gee. Why would you want to share that with anybody?
ESPN's got that big Longhorn network contract. That's what they're trying to get. Part of what they're trying to get out of us because they're losing money in years.
Be interesting where this all shakes out. We won't know for a couple of years. There's all kinds of jockeying right now. Planning, figuring.
Everybody also has to realize, as we learned at the retreat over the last week, is the Kansas Board of Regents has a lot to do with what happens to K-State and KU in this equation too. So
Yeah, he was interesting to listen to. Enjoy.
it's the first time I've heard him in person. I've seen
Yeah.
a couple of Zoom calls.
I've never heard with us before, but he swear it makes an impact.
Mhm. I think Fort Riley presentations are probably, they seem to be the highlight.
They were both really good.
Both extremely important.
Mhm.
I will say, all Nebraska aside, we went to the movies on Friday or Saturday night in the stadium at Bill Snyder Stadium.
Oh yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
I wish they would do that like a little cooler in the year or a little bit more. I guess you can't really do it in the fall, I guess, but sometime when it's not 8,000 degrees
Well,
outside.
it turned out to be perfect. We thought it was good because it rained, so that really, we thought it was
Cooled it
gonna get
off.
canceled,
Yeah.
but that just then cooled it all off and, the kids were like running wild on the field and just going, back and forth and doing tricks and they had a blast. And I thought, gosh, if you were like a K-State kid, you grew up here and this is your thing, this would just be so awesome.
Oh, yeah.
What
That's
movie did they?
They played Raya and the Last Dragon, so it was a family movie
Okay.
and it was, and no charge to get in and they had really like nice little concessions set up and it was nice. And then they have the K-State Kids Club there.
Mhm.
You could sign up, I think it's $25 for the whole year. They can do little events and
Junior Wildcat Club.
Junior Wildcat Club, and so these kids were all so excited.
Should we have Elizabeth go?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resource Manager, and I would like to present information about the personnel manual update. So you guys have been able to read a lot of this discussion, but as you're aware, our personnel manual, our current manual was last formally updated in 2012. So there's just been numerous resolutions, additions, changes in employment law, et cetera, over the time. And a lot of those resolutions have been added in, but never formally adopted. So right now, our manual, I think, is sitting at 180 pages. And there may be a couple resolutions that neither Cindy or I have attached to it. So that's, just kind of confusing for everyone. So really, there's a couple different ways to go about updating the manual. You can do it all internally. So you get your staff, you just start going through it policy by policy. Generally, it's calendared over a year, and it's going to take extensive hours from myself and Clancy in every area, and then department heads in each applicable area. So it's going to take a significant amount of time. There's also templates online, which a lot of smaller organizations use, and they just get a template, they throw in their own policies, and they go from there. But that template doesn't necessarily mean we're following any legal state or federal guidelines. It definitely doesn't mean we're following best practices. There's some interactive options like a software application, which would be a little bit more interactive. So it would give you kind of guidance for each area, but also not necessarily specific to local governance. So the way that I would like to propose and ask for permission to do is that we found, with conjunction to Charles & Wilson, they have a partner who does basically all of these manuals. So they do about 100 new manuals a year. They also then support updates in law, whether it's state, local, federal, whatever the case might be. So we met with one of their employment lawyers in mid-May, and we learned what the process is. Basically, they would take all of our current policies, they would review those, they would get a brand new format that they feel like is a best practice for clarity to our employees. They would give us back a draft manual, less than 80 pages, and their timeline for that original draft is within 5 to 6 weeks after we get it scheduled. At that point, then our department heads and Clancy, myself, would go through each of those policies, make sure they really align with what Ravalli County wants to do and how our policies are meant to be applied. And that can take us however long we decide. So that could, in some ideal world, take 2 weeks. Could take, they said sometimes it takes 2 years. So we're hoping for somewhere in the middle there, right? We'll see how we can get the department heads together. And then we would say, okay, these are the changes we need to make. These are the things we don't agree with or have questions about. This is our edits. And they would then have an employment lawyer go through that and make sure that everything that we want to do is compliant. The whole cost is $2,500. So realistically, just with staff time, we couldn't internally do that for $2,500 or even near that. So I think it'll give us a great draft to start with. It will not be more expensive than if we were doing it internally. And ideally, we would have, my timeline then would be to have a finalized proposal to the commissioners by the end of the year so that we could start 2022 with a formal policy manual.
Go ahead, Rich.
Part of the problem is we have worked on it internally, and it's such a long, cumbersome process. I mean, you do give it your best effort, but with all the other duties everyone has, it is time consuming to do it by yourself. And so we have started that process before, and it just never gets completed. We've had many resolutions, and then people are confused. Well, this got changed for a resolution such and such. And so I can't believe how affordable this is, honestly. And they are professionals that do it regularly. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. And I've talked to them about it several times with the department heads, and all are in favor of this. And they also had the same reaction. They said, are you sure that's the cost? Do you have the zero in the right spot? And yes, it is. It is the right cost. And they do also offer ongoing services, but at this point, that's not what we're requesting.
Yeah, the first one I noticed, it said concise, and I thought, it's when I started here and I was handed this. So I thought, are you kidding me?
We do.
60, 80 pages is a lot, but the pile we have now is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Over double that.
Yeah.
And it was, but also, and I couldn't find it. I thought at one point in an email that I've lost about this, there was an ongoing update charge, which that seemed like, this seems cheap. That was not cheap.
Well, that was actually about what it costs for have ongoing employment legal advice, but it was $1 per employee per month. But that really is for them to keep us compliant throughout the next year. So really, it's for them to say, here's a new law, here's something that might affect your policies, which we do a pretty good job of staying on top of through myself, Sherm, Clancy, all of these different sources that we are, and our consortium, we talk with all of the other counties in the city, and RCPD as well. So I think we decided as a department head, we aren't really requesting that at this point. We think we can remain compliant if we can get to the point where we have a really clear policy manual. And my thought is I've done a lot of these, and it would definitely take us a full year of dedicated focus if we did it internally. But after that point, if we just continually include our resolutions in the update and bring you a 2023 to 2024, not necessarily changing the base, but making sure that we're combining and consolidating the new resolutions. It'll be a lot easier to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, that update charge would be more than this, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
If it's
particularly if you
$3
kept it going, yeah.
$1 a month, it's 300, so that's 3,600
Yeah.
a year for the update.
Right. And we do actually, one of the resources that Charles and Wilson and I found, we actually have with our coverage for insurance, we have an employment lawyer service. I can call them, I can email them, I can ask them specific questions at any point. I actually was just on the phone with them last week about that kind of Bermuda Triangle between FMLA and ADA and workers' comp, saying what can we do? And so we have this service already available for us to just grab a hold of. So I don't really think, I mean, it could change in the future, but at this point, I don't think we need that updated.
That was, like I said, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it wasn't an old email, it was to department heads, it was an attachment I had sent out.
There was attachments. I thought that's what it was, but I tried to stir it through, couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, you're right,
The
you're right.
update seemed, sorry, out of line, but the initial cost seems pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not gonna be perfect when we get it back, but it'll be a place for us to start and move forward instead of, fine tooth combing every piece of the manual.
And like I say, consolidating that pile
Yeah.
of paper.
It's so difficult for, the leadership to understand the policies, let alone hold an employee accountable when they can't, they have conflicting information.
But it's needed, obviously.
I agree.
Motion.
Yeah. I'd make a motion to approve contracting with East Coast Risk Management to update personnel policies.
Yeah, I would second that. We need to change, there's a typo in there. Risk management.
Risk management.
Yeah, it says in it,
Yeah, it
risk.
says rest.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So I would second that with the change there.
That's funny. that-
That's when it's extra risky.
Yeah, especially risky. I don't even think that's a word.
I don't think so.
So we have a motion on the table to, in our partnership with East Coast Risk Management.
Risk management.
Okay. On new policy manual for Riley County. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you,
Elizabeth.
Commissioners.
I believe.
Yes, we are going to go back to probably what I would say is the most important item of our press conference, but very special presentation, and I'm happy to do this morning. So I need Mr. Nelson. Okay, we're going to do it up here at the podium. So, good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you? Okay. It's nice to see you again. So what I have for you this morning is a plaque of 54 years. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but 54 years of service to Riley County. I'm very happy and sad to see you go, but you've spent your entire career serving citizens of Ravalley County, and we're all just blessed for your time and your work and your efforts over that course of time. So I want to present to you this. And once again, thank you for everything that you've done in your service to Ravalley County. I appreciate you very, very much, and I wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors and everything that you hopefully have planned moving forward. I want to give you a few moments to just talk about those 54 years and just give us an update on everything you've done over the course of that time.
So I want to thank you. That means a lot to me.
And you can have the podium to yourself.
Well, I'm going to just say a few words about the Quality County Fire. I think it's advanced from the time it started back in '66 when I was building trucks, and then it formed in the very end of December. And that's when the commissioner signed the papers for Raleigh County Fire District #1. And it has advanced through the years. Communication is the big thing. Back then, of course, you had a phone system. Each department maybe had 4 to 5 people that had a file, they called it the file phone. And then the wife had to go out to the field and all this and this. And response time has been just tremendous after we got pagers and all of that. So, and then of course our equipment is so much more better than when we had the Army trucks, which they had the place. They were very good in brush fires and some of the hill country, but 1,000 gallon of water, we put out a lot of fire just with 1,000 gallon of water. But now we have tankers and the whole bit, so just like I say, it has advanced, and I hope we can keep it going. I know it's getting harder and harder to get people to join, but I hope we can keep it going. Thank you.
Thank
Also
you.
sounds like our equipment is equipped with lots of whistles and bells. Would you like to take a picture with us?
That's okay.
Okay.
It still goes off.
I'll let you come right here in the center, sir. Slide that sleeve off. Yeah. Okay, are we good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much. So, yes,
Thank you so much.
we really do appreciate your time and service.
Most of the time.
Yes. That worked out well?
That's unreal.
Okay, Russell, you're on. We're running a few minutes behind, but I think a few minutes behind for 54 years is A-okay, correct?
There you
All
go.
right.
So here's Russell Stuckey, Emergency Services Director. So here's a copy of Sheet runs over the last month. The paging system is going off. So haven't had as much going on with 911 lately. The main thing was working with Clancy to get the final acceptance document signed for Harris and get in almost all of their final payment. As you are well aware, I'm sure we're still over $10,000 for a few last things with a couple of generators. I think that's all. 911 wise, fire. Both deputy chiefs have been working out well. They've really hit the ground running, and I'm really happy with how that's working out. We worked with the architects, and we should be getting some final drawings for the 2 fire stations that are left to be built: the University Park and the Ashland Bottom stations. We're working with HR to get the volunteer application process online, so it's not just paper anymore. We will still have a paper copy, but we're working to get the paper copy to match the online form, so that if somebody does fill out a paper copy, that the information will transfer easily to online. So that'll make it easier for HR and us both to track the status of application processes with the drug screens and the background checks and all those things. Been working with the City of Riley Fire Chief a little bit, the new City of Riley Fire Chief, answering some questions for him, and he's brand new to the position. Working with Konza Prairie staff and GIS staff to get some better maps put together, so when people get lost out there on the Konza, the emergency responders and the staff can communicate locations better than just down that road a ways and hang right. The Big Buffalo Gate. Get it a little more set on what things are named. Since I spoke to you last about 50-year-old trucks, just a week later, 2 weeks later, Chief Russell was notified Forestry did come up with a truck that we could get a hold of, so we can move one 50-year-old truck out of service and put a 30-year-old truck in service for free as far as the truck's concerned. So that's a plus. We'll have to buy a tank and pump and stuff, but the truck itself will actually be free. So we can gain 20 years that way. We assisted with the former Ogden firefighter's funeral. As Elizabeth was just talking, been working with them to get our policy manual updated and as part of that process. we had a minor flooding event on Wildcat Creek. So that was a learning experience for me and that whole process. As a result of that, Lori and I sat down and we reviewed the policies and procedures as far as severe weather and the flooding and stuff. And we made some reviews that we'll be presenting to the emergency services partners and probably making some updates to those. And we had the power outage on the 27th, and so I took it upon myself while the power was out to start walking around the buildings and looking at the exit lights and the emergency egress lights and documenting which ones aren't working while the power's out when they should be working. They should have a battery in them. Got a few that weren't, so I been working with John, sent him that information and his staff, and so get some of those updated. I made it to the second floor of the office building, but I didn't make it to the third floor before that. I did all this building, but I didn't make it to the third floor of that building before the power came back on. So next time the power goes off, we'll go there first.
Let's not hope for that, though.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear.
I think that's the most on the fire side, which a little bit of that was emergency management. Emergency management side and monitoring severe weather. Like I said, Lori and I updated as a result of the flooding and stuff. We went through and we're updating some of the EOC operations procedures and the severe weather monitoring procedures. Attended some Kansas Emergency Management Association functions. Worked Baldwin in our office, our 20-hour-a-week planner is working with different departments, working on their emergency action guides. You know what to do in an active shooter event, a fire event, tornado, etc. So he'll be going around all the departments. And I think, I don't remember if I recorded this or not, but the Vogel command post was being used by RCPD for training. And first it had a little fender bender, and then about an hour later it caught on fire. And so the mobile command post is out of service right now. And so I believe the insurance appraiser adjuster is coming tomorrow to Public Works to look at it, to get an assessment on what all. It was mainly an electrical fire, but it also got into the brake lines and the hydraulic lines of the vehicle stabilizers that level it. One of those, as a result of the fire, the stabilizer system kind of went haywire and 3 of the legs went up and 1 didn't. And so the that leg bent, which actually bent the truck to the frame a little bit. And so there's electrical repairs, there's brake lines, vehicle repairs, electrical repairs like household electrical for the box. And then vehicle, electrical and hydraulic and brake lines. And then the frame's actually bent just a little bit. So I'll have more to report on that.
I bet you they're probably going to total it.
I don't know. I mean, that's $500,000. So, yeah. It'll be an extensive bill, but it's a good thing it's insurance. Lori and Baldwin participated in an exercise with Fort Riley for a tornado sheltering type of exercise. And then we've been working on, with David Adams and the ambulance building / EOC dispatch. And I've had a few conversations with you about that and with David and with John. And we're looking at, we were originally thinking combine that, it'd be better, but if that building's going to be in town, it's going to be more expensive to build it in town. We think we could build what the EOC and things we would need cheaper out of Public Works than if we build it in Manhattan. And so I'm investigating and trying to get a preliminary estimate from the architect what it would cost to develop a legitimate estimate on what it would cost to build something out there. So unless the commission doesn't want me to continue down that road, that's what I'm going to keep looking at to see what our options are.
Explore all of our options, yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Those guys can think something I forgot. Commission has any questions?
Good. Okay, thanks, sir.
Next, Commissioner, Tammy Robinson. Work session, 10:15.
Must be something about money.
Must be.
We're just gonna whichever department disagree this week.
Put your memo out
There's
somewhere.
no law that says you couldn't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like the illustrate this.
Yeah, when you be in the chair,
Yeah.
by virtue, yeah.
Are you gonna go to that one, 30 thing?
It's not, well, they're stern.
Yeah,
And
Per letter,
seven
there's a lot of facts.
Yeah.
I just didn't keep that track of that.
just, gotta get that guy more comments about it. Ashland, he really knows his stuff.
Some of these ones just want to be, yeah, they just want to be stirred. It's all on the map too, it was right there.
Yeah.
Okay, Tammy.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tammy Robinson, Budget and Finance Officer. Today we have a 2022 budget work session scheduled. I have a memo and the developmental worksheet to go through with you. In addition to that, I did just want to briefly go over the hearing process, answer any questions you might have that we'll be doing on September 20th. So September 20th, the public hearing is scheduled for that day. Along with that, at this point, our intent is to exceed the revenue neutral rate. So we have to hold hearings for that as well. The fire department is also has an intent to exceed that revenue neutral rate. And so they have to hold a hearing as well, and it has to be separate from ours. So the county's revenue neutral rate hearing is at 10:45 on the 20th. And then at 11 o'clock, we have the fire revenue neutral rate hearing scheduled. And then once those are completed, at 11:15, we'll have the public hearing for the entire budget. On the revenue neutral rate hearings, keep in mind that you do have to actually vote to approve to exceed that revenue neutral rate. It has to be held during that hearing. So you'll have to do that for each of those two, and then we'll also have a public hearing, which then you vote again for that. And we do have to have all of those tallied separately and in the minutes separately. Are there any questions in addition to that on any of the hearing? No? Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into the memo and the changes that we're proposing. So what we did, the Budget and Planning Committee met and we went through the numbers again, and I was going through everything on the budget previously to see if there was anything that needed adjusted or changed or maybe we missed. So a few things we came up with. The beginning unencumbered cash for The general fund is adjusted by 92,500, and that is because originally when we did our budget, we had that 92,500, and there was a transfer from the general fund to the Fairmont Heights because we were anticipating that's what our request would be. Because it's going to come from the ARPA funds instead of the general fund, it's going to be a transfer from a disaster fund to the Fairmont instead of general, which allowed me to adjust that beginning cash going into 2022. So there's one adjustment we have. And then the other ones we want to propose are our receptionist salary, the building receptionist at the front of the office building. We hired her with the intent to address COVID, to help keep everybody social distance, to keep an eye on the flow in, the flow out of the buildings and the offices. So we would like to propose to use CARES funds to fund that salary in 2021 or 2022's budget, excuse me. So that would be with the salary and benefits, $38,713, that we would be able to recoup on those wages. We also would like to propose adjusting the CIP transfer and decreasing what we had originally presented by an additional $900,000. One other thing that was discussed in the Budget and Planning Committee, and I think is a great idea to bring forward to you, the entire committee was in agreement with this, is that we decrease our CPD's budget by $30,000. So what we have is we have $120,000 that was originally proposed in building maintenance. We would like to suggest decreasing that to $100,000, hold them accountable for anything as well. So it's going to limit requests that come into us, just as we're having to limit requests that will come to you. In addition, we had a $10,000 line item for building improvements. We want to take that out and take it off of the budget. So that's what equates to that $30,000. It's not a huge difference in our CPD, but it's a good faith that they're decreasing as well as us. Not by as big of a decrease. And I do want to note that if you look at the memo down here at the bottom, by making these adjustments, our CPD still reflects a 4.14% increase in their budgeted expenditure request. The county general fund budgeted expenditure request actually decreases by 0.45%. Are there any questions or discussion or anything else I can provide?
Anybody else?
Community receptionist, do you anticipate that going beyond 2022?
Based on when we originally presented it to you, it's a forever position. It's not one that we're anticipating taking away at all.
Yeah, that was a new position. And intent at that time was, long-term after COVID, it just been needed for decades. So it just, at the time, because of COVID, it really helped eliminate traffic. But yeah, it's definitely neat. I think all the departments would agree to direct traffic because we get so many people coming in. Our office used to be the main traffic director.
Right.
People would come in and they're always looking for city court, city offices. And so it has helped tremendously, but we think it's a good idea. Well, we can take advantage of that. And with COVID ramping back up, that's another concern to, direct people to the correct offices rather than wandering through the buildings. So.
Okay.
So really that is our point, is right now with COVID, that is the primary duties. We don't expect that to continue to be primary for them forever. But right now, since we can justify that as a primary activity for them, that's why we would request that these funds could be used to reimburse that salary.
Okay.
So then, of course, then it would go to ad
Then
valorem
it would go
taxes.
to
Next year.
Who's responsible for that position at the moment?
It's in the budget of the treasurer's.
Treasurer's office.
remember on that. I know we had talked about 2 at the original point,
Right.
with the 1, so. Okay.
And I think Shiloh, if you can, I mean, if you want to explain what she does for your office as well, because primarily she does assist your drivers, the motor vehicle.
Right, so, what she does for our offices, she really is learning how to kind of be a stop point for the public so that if they don't have their paperwork or if there's certain things that they don't have to come into the office for, she's able to stop them and at least get them directed into the right place. But because right now her main function is to try to keep that flow of traffic to a minimum within the office, we felt that we could justify using her salary, not only for next year, but for the rest of the 2021 year out of CARES funds as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with all the current changes here too. I'd still like to see us get to a flat state at this point in time with everything that we're trying to do moving forward. So I don't know.
Can we just look at that really quick?
Yeah.
So if we go to that sheet.
Okay.
In the screen very well, so I need to follow along.
So if you look at this here in the middle section that talks about the revenue neutral rate, you can see that we are down to a difference, and this is a revenue neutral rate. This isn't with last year's levy. But with the revenue neutral rate, we are over 317,578 in the general fund. The last time we had a work session, it was 1.3 million. So up here on the ad valorem per fund, if you look here, the last time we were here, we were at $25,029,895 for the general fund ad valorem taxes. We're down to $23,998,682. And if you look down here, again at RCPD, you can see they're over by 0.330. You can see we're proposing to increase by 0.299. So this is the reason why we brought this to you at this level, is because RCPD is what's driving this increase right now. It is not the county. The county has done their due diligence in reducing our budget by 0.45% in the general fund from last year. So if we do that, then that will allow RCPD to continue to increase, and we would be making up their difference of their increase. We're still making up a little bit anyway, but we tried to keep everything at round dollars as much as possible.
And we tried with our due diligence to keep our CPD down there, but
Yeah.
with that board
Yeah.
set up, we just couldn't win that battle. So
Right.
I don't disagree
Right.
with that. Still
So we
feel we're
can-
trying to get the sales tax in place, which I think is extremely important, that raising both property tax and then asking for sales tax on it this year, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
My conversations with people here in the short term have kind of indicated that. So I'm not talking about trying to get down to the revenue neutral rate. I'm just trying to keep our actual mill levy just flat at this point in time.
Well, if we do, it still will be county funds that
Yeah.
are decreasing additional
Yeah, I know.
dollars. Unless you want to take more out of RCPD and limit them even more. Which we could, but just keep in mind on inmate medical, if something happens, we're still liable and it will have to come from the general fund if there's not money in there.
I think maybe I was thinking maybe, I don't know the exact math here, but another, I'm sorry, John, but another 100,000 out of CIP would probably get us there, correct?
No, it's 171,000 is what we're off.
Okay, so
Yeah, I was saying 200.
Yeah,
Number, that's what I thought.
200 then.
Well, how do we take money out of the RCPD fund? is what I'm wondering.
So
You
we
know,
can't change the appropriations, that's set.
The change.
But you also keep in mind on the budget, we have building maintenance that we're required to fund, and we have inmate medical that we're required to fund. So we have to budget dollars in those line items. So in order to take it out, it means you would probably need to take it out of building maintenance, because inmate medical is not a good idea.
Yeah.
But if you took it out of building maintenance, then you're gonna limit what can or what has to be done there as well, which means if we don't have funds and we're responsible, it's either gonna come out of CIP or it's gonna come out of our general fund. Which again, would, affect the ad valorem tax dollars when you look at the overarching effect.
By which,
Did you understand that, Catherine?
Yeah.
See, in RCPD, we have the appropriation amount that we get from RCPD that we cannot impact.
Right.
But on top of that, we spend money on inmate medical and all facilities maintenance. And we at the county, John, a lot, and Tammy come up with the numbers on what we spent the previous year, and we include that in that fund. So we have the authority to change those two amounts. Those aren't a directive from the law board. So that would be the portion of the RCPD fund that we could change. Not the appropriation amount. We can't legally change the appropriation amount.
Well, I looked at those physician fees and, the medical expenses, they seem really high, and I don't know if the
we've had a lot of medical,
We
Yeah.
get 2 inmates with conditions.
if we've looked at a more efficient way of dealing with that, like as far as physician
not have.
expenses.
Yeah, we have, and we've implemented them all. We get the Medicaid rate, and we have a third-party contractor that works on behalf of our benefits. We used to get pharmaceutical supplies here locally. We now have a third-party vendor. Unfortunately, because of that clientele, you never know where it's going to. We've had several years that were very good, but we've got 2 inmates that have higher than usual medical costs, and statute says no matter what it is, we and the Riley County is wholly responsible for that. The city pays none of that.
So
Our third party
inmates
vendor, we pay $13,000, approximately $13,000 a month for our third party vendor. That's their admin fee that we have to pay. In addition to that, we get a $31,000 pool for the year to spend towards these inmate medical costs. As long as it stays under that $31,000, then it comes from those dollars. But if we go over it, then we have to pay that difference.
Okay.
And if you have one inmate that comes up with, say, cardiac arrest, something happens and you have to pay those bills, they had open heart surgery, or you have somebody in there who's having a baby, then you're responsible for all those costs. And so one individual in there could wipe out the entire, we don't bank on that to happen, but it can happen.
Yeah, okay. I understand it more now.
And that's the reason I would suggest not reducing the RCPD anymore. If you still want, if the commission, as a majority, want to still reduce, I would suggest taking out a CIP transfer. Because regardless, you can lower RCPD as much as you want. Whatever the actual costs are, we're gonna have to pay. That's gonna come out of general anyway, so.
I think we have a better shot of making up the difference again through CIP later with extra revenues.
If there's other things to change, you put it in.
So I might make the suggestion then of going 200,000 and we'll reprioritize and figure out how to do that to keep us at that level.
But again, right now, we can sell it, this and ours. We're
Yeah,
passing along
good
our
luck.
CPD.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Are there any of those medical expenses that could be charged off to CARES or COVID?
I don't know about COVID, but I don't.
Any of those things?
Well, the thing is it's only if you would go over that would have an effect. So
Okay.
until you go over, you wouldn't, and we couldn't use the ARPA funds, no.
No, I know.
But the funds that we've already captured from previous salaries in the 2020 year, yes, there's some funds there that you could do that. But it's just a matter of whether you use that, because some years we've used the 31,000, some years we have not. And so what they do is if we don't use that whole pool, they give the dollars back to us to go against an admin bill for 1 month. So
The
it
other
just
bad thing is
decreases.
remember when you do that and you don't have the funds to use again next year, then you're doubling the increase because that has to go back on ad valorem. So it's a temporary fix, which really isn't a fix.
Yeah, we have to guess, medical, that's educated guess. We don't know
No.
who gets in there.
Yeah, the first few years I was here, it was good, and we were getting anywhere between 6,000 and 10,000 back a year. And the last 2 years, we paid around 20,000 more a year.
We had no control over that.
There's good years and bad years with that.
And in the history with the reason why, because we do have 2 new commissioners, why we have that third-party vendor is previously, RCPD staff were in charge of distributing medication. They're not medical professionals, and so we're at some liability there. And so it's a much better process that we have now, because they have doctors and nurses on staff that do that.
So we feel comfortable with that then?
Comfortable with what?
The 200,000.
I think that COP and so we can get that. And I know, even though we will see raise, we're still under 2 years ago, but quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite a bit, we're still, even with this rate, we're under 2 years ago.
Close to 2 mils less
Yeah.
than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that is quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's 1.2 million.
I know.
Yeah.
It's about what that sales tax is gonna bring in roughly per year.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
No guarantee.
Do we need to do that by consensus at this point?
By
or-
consensus or emotion, one of the two, for
Okay.
sure.
I would probably then make a motion that we approve the current reductions as listed in the memo and add an extra 200,000 out of CIP.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded on the changes to the 2022 budget development. All those in favor?
Okay, so with that, my intent is to go ahead and make that adjustment. Do you want it brought back to you? Or are you okay with me going ahead and sending it on to the accountants to review the budget then? I will be back at the beginning of September with
Right.
finalized after they've reviewed in case there's anything they see that I've missed.
You'll send that back to us.
Tammy, why don't you just get on there
Yeah.
for 10 minutes just to present it to them, and it's for the public as well. That way they see the total.
The total.
Okay,
It just
So-
take 10 minutes to do.
I'll come back on Thursday with that, and then after that point, I'll send it on to the auditors to review the budget. You just want to see the budget developmental worksheet again.
Please. Yeah.
And I think that's all I have, unless there's anything else you need from me.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. You're free, Tammy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, department heads, for showing up. Appreciate it.
And I think that leaves us here at 10:35, so we're right on time with Barry.
Budget never gets us out.
Hopefully, we're all but done, except just going through formalities now. Hopefully, something else comes up along the way.
We had a person leave she'll be leaving Friday, taking a job. And so we're seeking permission to hire for the position. It's been budgeted, and we've certainly got plenty of money in our personnel, the way things have gone this year, so. It was 6 months to hire an attorney.
Yeah.
So I would just ask that the commission would approve it, filling that position.
Yeah, I move to approve their request to fill the office assistant 2 position.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on filling the open position of Office Assistant 2 in the County Attorney's Office. All those in favor? Aye.
All three, please. Thank you, Barry.
All right, thank you.
We have Don Allen at 10:45.
Mhm. Already that time again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I did my Zoom, or actually I did my phone, I think, last time. The Zoom wasn't working, or the connection wasn't working real well up there in the airport, so I just did it by phone.
So there you go.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's the last day.
How's Gary?
All right.
Good.
Yeah. So. She's he's a talker. Our other kid. And it just, he's on and on, goes on and on and on. When we left. This time, right after lunch, 18 rotations ago. 18. He's hard on me. No, not really, other than he just talks so much. Figure out which one. Yeah, what she said. So forth, she said. They have scrimmage 16 or 17. Both teams. I don't know. Just get back. To turn around and go back, but at least my folks are doing this. My sister will be able to watch. They haven't decided. They told, she said, they told her right now. 17. Between the two teams. But two of them are right side. Those are just. She said she's been practicing. So she's even that, at least you get one full time, you can see what you can do. Knowing that you're ready to step out. Yeah. They don't start. It's
It's a good process to have in a rearview mirror.
Yes. It's a little longer than the last 2 years, but start clearing some stuff off of here. We can focus on a couple of big things in the fall.
This is the first year, there's never an end of work, that's for sure. I think the 5th is
We're already in August, huh?
unreal, huh?
Yeah. Last July somehow.
I know.
Yeah, July just
Yeah,
blur, a complete blur.
Is this, on this one it says, roads and jobs, it's not roads and bridges.
No, it was proposed as roads and jobs back then. Roads and economic development.
Economic
Because
development.
the jobs part was the city side, economic development. Yeah, the current, the new one
Okay,
will
that's
just
the
be
only one,
roads
because
and
it
bridges.
terminate it changed them all, that's kind of
Yeah. Different sales tax, we have to remember, that's gonna be a key educational point
Yeah.
in how we're reducing the sales tax.
Yes.
The city raised the sales tax. They might not like hearing that, but it's the truth.
Well, and their projection for their, their ad valorem, 12-13%.
Yeah, now they actually say it was never, that sales tax was never intended to help.
Well, that's how it was sold. Yeah, I've got heartburn about that one
Yeah.
in particular.
It just makes our job that much harder.
What's the 21? We'll keep looking at this 21. It's part of the sample here. As opposed to the current. We haven't got the current. Right?
Clancy has drafted one.
Okay,
Do you have a copy of
is,
that?
I have not seen it.
You might
Okay.
email him. I know he's been working on it.
because this, I keep getting confused that this one is what we're proposing and then
Yeah,
It's in the
he's got to go
city.
through and change, update the language on it, but
He's pretty much got it
okay.
done. It's much shorter.
Yeah, I thought so.
and
'Cause
keep
it's
in
a-
mind, we don't have to actually officially submit it until September 1st. We have
Less than a month.
less than a month.
Yeah, it's getting
But he's
there.
got it already done. It's just a matter of going through the rest of
Once the
Speaking
primary
of
is
time
done,
flying.
once the primary is done, it goes really
Yeah.
fast.
it. With that, go ahead, John.
Okay, so I don't have anything really new to show other than we'll go through the slides and we'll see some of the changes we had made after the last time. And then you can stop me, make edits, or you can contact me later about anything that you want to make changes on. So we can go through this fairly quickly if you want.
Yeah.
Okay with that, because a lot of these haven't changed. Old and new projects from the last sales tax. Sorry.
Yeah, that's better.
This is basically the dollars that were spent. The asterisks are projects in motion still, either being designed or have getting ready to be constructed. Total spent today. And of course, in the next few months, as you do presentations, those numbers will change. They will increase because we got a project getting ready to start next week after.
16th now.
Okay. So you have a couple projects started. Do that. This hasn't changed, probably won't change a whole lot. Number of miles of road, number of bridges, culverts and stuff we have.
You were talking to everybody over the end of last week. That number of bridges is wanting to change. That's for sure. That's sarcasm. Sorry.
Only takes money.
You hit the nail on the head.
13%, I did write that, Commissioner asked about, so that there's some numbers, the 13% equals about 17 bridges that are deficient. 20% was 26. So from the last sales tax issue, we had about 26 bridges deficient. To date, there's about 13. So the sales tax and the idea of replacing some of these deficient bridges is making a difference in what we have on. Deficiencies that we see on the bridges, reasons why we need to get rid of them, and what happens if they stay deficient and we keep putting off projects. Total projects and the locations of each. I didn't change this map a whole lot. This just shows a highlight of that and showing the 23 projects, $10 million worth of project, 5.7 in the area around Manhattan, and another 4.3 outside of that. A couple examples of what we're looking at fixing. The Manhattan area, not necessarily an urban area zone, but just projects close to with the city of Manhattan. Revenues anticipated and estimated to be generated from the sale. Is that a different color on there? The last paragraph, or last bullet, is that different color?
Yeah,
Or
it's
is that
black.
me?
The first two are blue.
It's tough to tell, but it is. I just leave it. I don't think that's a big deal.
Well, it was hard to see on my computer too. So. I did add the highlights of locations, the names of where the structures are on these next few maps. And bridges, then the culverts, the road reconstruction areas.
Wildcat Creek, is that to pave it, or is it just to straighten it out?
It's kind of to realign it and to put pavement on it.
Yeah, pave it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the overlays, we didn't list road names because of the many of them, and some of these may change as we get closer to them. They could be deferred a year, or one get pushed up at a certain time, depending on dollars amounts too. Current sales tax around the state, and where Manhattan sales tax falls. These are the cities. Just how right now it's being distributed. Who's doing what. Estimated a 1.2 sales tax will bring us over the 5 years. Why sales tax over property tax? Who brings it in? And why it's needed. Quick sample so you wouldn't get confused. And so and until when Clancy gets us the wording on the new question, then we'll replace that slide.
I think he's planning on bringing a card for the commissioners to look at that proposed new language as soon as he gets back.
Okay.
And I had some email discussions on it.
That's Thursday, isn't it? Is he gonna be back Thursday, Craig?
Since it'd be a Thursday. Yeah.
I'd say the sooner the better on that.
Yeah, that's what I told him. Yeah. But I don't know that he'll be ready Thursday, but shortly after that.
Question. So
Looks good. I'm gonna need a hardbound copy when we get there.
Okay, that was my next question, is how you want me to distribute to you guys to see or use, and
Well, we can keep a digital copy
I
for.
do it both ways.
Yeah,
I have a feeling there's going to be Zooms and in persons at this point in time, so we're probably going to need both.
thumb drives or?
Well, I'd put a copy out there on W drive too, but yeah. On that, I just think, it's not on there, but whoever's presenting is we're gonna have to figure out a way to eloquently educate people on the city sales tax and the county sales tax, because whoever's doing the presenting is gonna get those questions.
Well, and I'll tell you, I mean, just because some people know who I am, and some bad information in the paper previously to this, I've gotten questions about, why has the county dropped the ball on this?
Yeah.
And so you just have to be honest with them and tell them, we didn't drop the ball. And it really, the eyes really wide open, we just go, oh, so I mean, I think that's going to be part of any kind of presentation, is you have to talk about that history. Is that what you're talking about, Rich?
No, that's part of it.
Part of it.
Part of it, yeah.
yeah, and I've heard, I was questioning that too. How did we drop the ball?
We did it. We did it.
I saw that one email from Clancy of the copy, he sent us a copy of the email that he got, we sent it back at the time saying, never mind, do it ourselves.
Yeah, all along, the city and county had planned on going forward last year with basically renewing the combined sales tax, and then the city had agreed that they'd even do a city sales tax and have an interlocal agreement with the county, and then we thought they were going that route, and then they pulled the rug out from under the county and said, we're going on our own and not going to do any interlocal agreement because it was too difficult to do an interlocal agreement, according to their attorneys. Although it's like anything, if you want it to be done, it can be accomplished. If you don't want it to be done, it won't be accomplished.
And it would have made absolutely no sense to have two separate and competing passes on a ballot last year.
Well, hindsight's 2020. I'm not so sure it wouldn't have been, because then they'd have both failed. Not so sure that would have been bad.
I guess it would have brought us back to the same point of where we're at, maybe. I don't know. I do know that if we don't get this, these projects probably aren't going to get done. So the things we want to do with the city, or the city wants us to work with them on, such as Marlette and Wildcat Creek and several other ones, aren't going to happen because they've got the extra money and they got the extra economic development funds to do it.
Okay, well, if we get to that point, we could maybe prioritize some of these. Some of them are really bad and serve them a higher amount of people.
Yeah, there's probably ways.
Well, and that's how they do it. I mean, they address them based on which ones are in worse shape.
Yeah.
And that's what they're on.
Pretty much worse shape structures.
Yeah.
We've got some of those that are sitting out there that have been repaired and fixed up and I guess bandaged, for lack of a better term, since like 1915 or something. And most of them have an engineering life of about 50 years. Tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
So then,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so we're basically all we're waiting for in this presentation, then it's just the actual ballot question, and that's good.
Yeah, he's got it pretty much done. I think he just wants to review it to make sure the commissioners are comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And you commissioners have to be comfortable with it. We can make changes to it. We want to be sure it makes sense to the commissioners, because you guys are the ones who we educate the public on.
Right.
But it's much abbreviated from that sample.
Well, we've had some conversations with Alice. Brain just stopped. To have a conversation with Alice on how to kind of proceed with some of those presentations. So.
Yeah, it'd be good to have it succinct in a, like a small brochure or a one-page to hand out to people, because going through this many pages is confusing for them.
I will come to expect that even a one-page brochure is going to be confusing.
Yeah, so at least it's easier to hand out. Cheaper.
Okay.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about the city They are looking to improve or do some maintenance and improvements to their Tecumseh Quivira water booster plant. I printed up the example and I didn't print out that sheet. So that's the water booster station there by the health department up there in the corner. Well, sure, I can show you that. So what they're looking at doing as part of their improvement is to add a generator to that booster station. For times when power goes out or whatever. Right now they're asking for the geotech, their consultants to go in and do some borings to see what best place to be able to put some structure like that on there. So they're asking for permission to be able to do some borings on county property. And eventually look at purchasing or an easement or fee simple property to place the generator once it's on. And I think their preferred, stated in emails or whatever, their preferred location would be on the north side of that building.
In that
purple area.
And that's building is what is your health department?
It's up there at the corner of Charles Little and Tecumseh.
Really in the southeast corner of our health department complex area, you know, where Big Ditch is, that goes through there, it's just east of there.
Big Ditch sits right here.
Oh.
The road is right here.
Can you pull that out just a little bit so we can see the entire?
I don't think.
Oh, it's on city property or county property?
The building itself right now is on city property. The white line here, or this line here, is city property. This barely see a white line here.
Yeah.
And then the rest of that corner is city property. Like I said, they're looking at wanting to put the generator on this side where the purple outline is, so they would need to purchase an easement or property there to put the generator.
So I can generator go on the other side of the building.
Don't know. I mean, other than the side is the lower side. Now, how far we've had flooding issues, how far.
That intersection does flood.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That would be my
I mean,
guess. Keep it up there.
their ultimate goal is to build a storm sewer all the way down to Anderson. But
it's a class one.
Mm-hmm.
And that other was working at.
So like the first request is to be able to do some borings to best help site the generator pad, the generator. With the idea of keeping in mind that they're gonna look to want to buy property on the north side in the future.
And then they want us to consider selling it to them? Too?
They're looking at either way, be simple, buying a piece of property or an easement to place the generator on.
How's that coincide with other plans that we're anticipating there in that location?
I don't know what you had in that location, that corner, you're not gonna build a bunch of anything.
It's got, it's separated from everything else. It's hard to get.
Okay, is that just for informational purposes? Do we need
So
to
I need a motion on that.
To allow them to do the work.
Just to allow them that temporary access to the borings for now.
Okay.
I move to allow the city to perform borings on the county property. At 2010 comes to the.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded and allowing the city of Manhattan to perform geotechnical borings and to not consider the selling of the property at 2010 Tecumseh Road. All those in favor?
Let me just make one comment about a future decision you're gonna have to make, an easement versus a fee simple sale. Is that long-term, 30, 25, 30, 40 years down the road, it's a cleaner thing to do a fee simple sale than to have an easement out there that's gonna get lost on either side of this transaction. And it can be real confusing historically down the line. I mean, at least with this fiscal arrangement, I see no disadvantage to a fee simple sale to the city. Just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
All right, so I guess that takes care of everything for this Monday. What, you got anything else?
I do.
Okay.
I am, and a lot of people are concerned about the variant that's coming up and, possible restrictions that we might have to deal with. And I just want to say to anybody listening, if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated so that we don't have to shut businesses down and go through the whole mask mandate again. So I think that's really important for county people to do that and city.
I think we can't have our cake and eat it too on this one at this point in time. So I think we gotta weigh what those options are, gotta weigh what those options are personally, we need to weigh what those options are with everybody around you. It's pretty obvious it's not gonna get better any other way. Okay. Anything else? Craig, got anything?
I do not.
Rich, you got anything? Okay.
No, commissioners do not.
I'll go ahead then and accept the motion to adjourn for the day.
I like that motion.
I'd second that.
It's been moved to second an adjournment of the August 2nd, 2021 BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, John.
Thank you, gentlemen.